everyone, it's Emily. Welcome back on my channel. Today's video is going to be my top 5 books that I've read during the winter, so December, January, and February. I'm going to quickly mention all the books that I've read, which is going to be long because I have read 30 books. I'm going to try to do it pretty quickly, and then I'm going to talk about my top 5. In December, I read The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, Angel Fall by Susan E., Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. In January, I read The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire, The Thief by Megan Welland-Turner, Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, but this one was the graphic novel by Osada Diaz and Merowitz. Thanks for the Trouble by Tommy Wallach, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, The Gunslinger by Stephen King, The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secret of the Universe by Benjamin L. Science, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling, and The Giver by Louis Lurie. In February, I read My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hann, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows, Uprooted by Naomi Novik, A Wizard at Artsy by Ursula K. Le Guin, The Three Pottermore Presents eBooks, Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson, The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, The Rose and the Dagger by Renée Adier, The Nest by Cynthia D. Sweeney, and finally A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Okay, so those were the 30 books that I've read in the last 3 months, which is pretty insane, but as many books as there is, I will actually struggle to choose 5 favorites, which I would have an easier time doing a video about my 5 least favorite books in the last 3 months, which never happens. You probably have heard me, if you're not new to my channel, kind of talking about a lot of those problematic books. But today's video is about positive things. I want to talk about the top 5 books that I've read, so let's do this. So it was a really tough decision to make, but I have chosen my top 5 books. Some of these are not necessarily 5 stars, but they are actually the ones that I enjoyed the most compared to the other ones that I've read this past winter. I didn't want to include Harry Potter because including Harry Potter is basically cheating, because Harry Potter always wins. I'm still kind of cheating because book 1 and 2 are actually the second and the third book in a trilogy, but I seriously had nothing else to include. So, the Mistborn trilogy. I have been absolutely loving this trilogy. I read 1 book a month for 3 months, and these 2 were during the winter, and I love it. You can't go wrong with Brandon Sanderson. World building is amazing. The magic system was awesome. People have to consume metals in order to burn them. Not everyone can, but there's like specific limits for the magical system. They're basically trying to overthrow the Empire, and I absolutely love the 3rd book. I didn't love everything at the end, but I mean, I like how at the end everything was wrapped up so well. Everything was explained in detail. I feel like sometimes authors tend to leave like things, they just, you know, it's okay if I don't explain it, which can be annoying. But he explained everything. Everything made perfect sense. I really recommend you read this fantasy series. It's kind of between YA and adult, but you're following characters that do end up growing up. And honestly, all I can say is if you were looking for a new fantasy series to read, Mistborn trilogy is the one that I would say go ahead, pick it up. You won't regret it. I have been recommending this to everyone. I bought this for Christmas for some people, and they can be quite daunting because you see how big they are, but I guarantee you, totally worth the investment. The next book, I believe I gave it a 3.75 stars, which is still really good for me, by the way. Anything that is over 3 stars is good in my opinion. These 2 I did give 5 stars, but it's more the exception. I don't give 5 stars very easily, but this book surprised me. I had heard a lot of people mentioning it, and I'm like, I don't know, but I'm talking about Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire, and a lot of people were saying how you're following kids that come back from places like Narnia, and then they have trouble trying to reintegrate with society, so they go to this specific school, hospital place, where they learn how to cope with everything. But I didn't know that it was kind of a thriller part in it, and it's super short, which was probably one of the things that really bugged me because I wanted more. But it turns out it's a trilogy. The 2nd book just came out or is about to come out, so I will be reading this ASAP. I believe it just came out actually, so I need to pick it up. I'm excited to see where the story goes because the world where the kids went are so interesting, and I really want to read more about it. Also wanted to mention that the characters are super diverse. The main character is asexual. You're following, I believe there's a Japanese side character, and there's also a transgender character. So honestly, it was really, really nice to read, and I wanted more, so I need to pick up the next book. But if you were looking for a book that is a quick read, that is like YA fantasy, that is pretty different, but also includes a very diverse cast of character, this is definitely the book I would recommend for you. Another book that completely took me by surprise, because I had heard that it contained a like manic pixie dream girl, and I usually am not a fan of those characters, but I ended up reading this whole book in one day, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I wanted to talk about Thanks for Trouble by Tommy Wellick, and I ended up giving this book, I believe, 4 stars, and like I said, enjoyed it. There's 275 pages, read it in one day, absolutely adored it. The main character you're following doesn't speak, and I like the kind of contemporary with a little bit of like magical realism in it, and I don't want to say too much because the least you know to go in this book the better, but a YA book that has a little bit of a twist, and I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it. It's kind of a coming of age type of book, and when I read it I was getting a little discouraged with a lot of YA, especially contemporary, and this one totally made me want to read some more. The next book is probably not gonna be a surprise if you have watched my last couple of videos, but I started a new series in February. I was trying to read a little bit of a romance, and nothing was working for me, like nothing. But this one ended up totally working for me, and I'm talking about A Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This is the first book in the Remnant Chronicles, and I have been binging the rest. I read the second book. It's gonna be in my March wrap-up, and I already bought the third book because I'm totally planning on reading it as soon as possible, and I've been really enjoying myself. This is a YA romance in a fantasy world. It's more romance than fantasy, but I usually don't like romance, and really, really enjoy this one because you're following a main character who is a princess, but she's not like that weak, whiny type of character that you're following, but at the same time she's not that like super powerful girl that nothing happens bad to her, and like, you know what I mean? Like there's definitely a great balance there. And she is supposed to get married to a prince that she has never met, and she's not interested. So she decides to just leave the day of the wedding, and she just flees. But she's being followed by 2 men. The prince she was supposed to marry, and an assassin that is sent to kill her. But throughout the book you don't know who is who, and I really enjoyed myself. I would totally recommend it if it's something that seems interesting to you. And like I said, I've been binge reading the series, and I cannot wait to know how it ends because it's playing with my head. But this is definitely one of my top 5 books that I've read during the winter, and I believe I gave it 4.5 stars. So yeah, winter has been definitely a very interesting season for me. Read 30 books, which is awesome, but the fact that I struggled to include 5 in my favorites, and one of them being like 2 in the same series, which is kind of cheating, but that's how bad it's been going for me. So we're going to be hoping that spring is going to be better. I'm going to be posting really soon my top 5 books that I'm hoping to read during the spring, and then we can just discuss all of these things. So let me know in the comments which books were your favorites during the winter. If you have any opinions on these books, please feel free again to leave comments because I always like to just discuss these things. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.